Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Motormaina Podcast for today, the 15th of December 2024. It's coming up to Christmas, hence why we have the Christmas jumper on for tonight's show. Yes, huge thanks to Drive Tribe for this Christmas jumper. It's on sale on the website. I actually really like this jumper. It's got a picture of Martin, the Subaru on it. Martin, the Subaru Impreza, you can see there. Yes, the car, of course, that was used on Richard Hammond. Richard Hammond drove that car during the Scandi Flick, the 2004 Subaru Impreza WRX STIV Limited. On that show, along with the Mitsubishi Evo for James, and Jeremy Clarkson drove an Audi S4 as well. So, yeah, this jumper is certainly giving me car vibes. Drive Tribe home for Christmas. You go and check Drive Tribe out on YouTube, all the content that has been on the channel. But yes, Drive Tribe, certainly donning the Drive Tribe vibes tonight. The festive feel, certainly in that time. Drive Tribe home for Christmas, exactly on that one. So yes, anyway, off the Christmas jumper now. Motoring vibes certainly are going to get interesting now with the show tonight. Yes, we're going to be talking about the latest news. We're going to start off with the latest car news now. Lots of news has been happening over the last few days. I'm going to share my screen so all the listeners can get more of an information of what's been happening, so I can show you guys the actual news in detail. Now, the first bit of news is that Audi have confirmed plans to shut their Brussels plant. The factory currently builds the Q8 e-tron. Its successor is tipped to be produced down in Mexico. The Q8 e-tron was heavily updated in 2022. The decision to close the Brussels factory is painful. The Audi's production boss, Gerd Walker, said, according to Reuters, it was the toughest decision he had to do in his professional career. Now, it claims Audi spokesperson has also been confirmed in November to have broken down the talks, leaving the plant's closure inevitable. This brings to question the future of the current generation of the Q8 e-tron, originally known as the e-tron. Audi's first series production electric car went on sale in 2018 and was heavily updated in 2022. The new name, tweaked styling, and also had a much larger battery. Expected to run production middle of the decade as the flagship electric SUV that also includes a smaller Q4 e-tron and the Q6 e-tron mid-size one as well. So, been a lot of questions on that. It is a shame to see, car companies shutting plants down. Jaguar recently shutting a plant down here in the UK. Not Jaguar, sorry, but Jaguar obviously going into changing up, obviously, the electric. I mean, Vauxhall actually had to shut a plant down over electric car prices rising. Audi certainly looking like electric cars they want to go for. Just too expensive for me. And yeah, another plant goes. This time it is in Brussels in Belgium. So yeah, certainly very interesting. Obviously, the Q8 e-tron is produced at that plant. So I wonder what's going to happen there in terms of new cars potentially coming out of that. I don't know. Remains to be said. Now, the Renault 5. Renault 5 Turbo will be reborn. It's going to get a 500 brake horsepower rear-wheel drive super hatch. Now, the rally-inspired Halo model gets bespoke underpinnings. It's going to claim to hit 0 to 62 miles an hour in just 3.5 seconds. That is supercar territory for a Renault 5. I mean, the original Renault 5 was a great. It was a cute little car, It was fast, particularly the turbo version. It was insanely fast at the time. I think this was produced back in the 70s or the 80s. It was produced like many years ago. Obviously, Renault have recently the Renault 5 has been reborn as a new electric car by Renault. But no, the turbo is coming back. And it's also going to get yellow and white livery. Clearly takes inspiration from the rally car driven by John Rangotti there as well. 1984 was when the original came out. Now, the new model was previewed by 2022. It's said to more than have 374 brake horsepower. When it reaches production, it will pull out 500 brake horsepower thanks to two in-wheel electric motors. which are also going to power the car. 0 to 62 miles per hour will take just 3.5 seconds, according to what Renault have had to say on the press release for this car. It's saying it's likely to be limited, given the level of bespoke content and extreme positioning. This car is set to going to probably be cost over £100,000 when it comes out. I mean, it's crazy to think £100,000 for a Renault 5. I mean, it's certainly an interesting decision why Renault would charge that much money for the car. I don't know. But yeah, very interesting indeed on that one. So yeah, Renault certainly doing a lot of money when it comes to charging electric cars. That's very expensive, isn't it? For a car like that, you'd actually think that in general, the money is so expensive. It's crazy. Moving on now to the next one. By the way, if you're listening in tonight, this is the Motormaina Podcast, me, Charlie Tolhurst, live on YouTube. Please click that like button and subscribe to Chaz and Squash. It will alert you when new videos are uploaded. Let's continue getting some likes in here. I'm sure that'd be great. Now, a couple more bits of news to announce is this. The Mark 1 Ford Escort RS. This car is, well, quite simply a reborn. I kind of spoke about this car the other week, but this is the picture of it here. Oh my God, this actually is a weird one, to say the least. I mean, how would a company like Ford remake a car like this? I mean, it is a Mark 1 Escort was released back in the late 60s. It was 68, replaced the Anglia. This car did. But just look at it. I mean, it looks clearly more futuristic than it ever did. In terms of, though, what Ford are doing with it, 296 brake horsepower. It's going to weigh just 800 kilos. A 2.1 litre naturally aspirated 4 engine, double overhead cams, Ford steel has a billet cramp, motorsport spec fuel injection. It's going to weigh up just 85 kilos. It will also rev up to 10,000 RPM, produce 296 brake horsepower, 5-speed dogleg gearbox, in other words, a 5-speed manual, titanium exhausts, tuned for the best exhilarating sound. So, dogleg, yes, it's a manual. Obviously, that's what the iconic Escort always was. In terms of this as well, there's also another engine variant that Borum are offering. It's a standard 1.8 litre twin cam with fuel injection this time, not carburetors, and a dry sump will do 182 brake horsepower. That will be allied to a 4-speed manual, straight cut, both of course are rear-wheel drive. So in other words, the 4-speed manual is kind of mimic the original car really. If I were you, probably get the 5-speed as well. In terms of how much these cars is going to be very expensive. Production is expected to start next year. It's going to be limited to just 150 models, 150 cars. Production start date of Q3 2025. In terms of that, it's going to cost you around £295,000. For that outlay, you get 2-year, 20,000 mile warranty on this car. For me, I do a lot of driving. I'll probably be doing more than 20,000 miles in a year anyway. So, well, depends if you do 20,000 miles in a year. I mean, I've done nearly 10,000 in the car I've got now. I've done about 8. So I've done a lot of miles in the ZS that I've got. So the MG. So certainly a lot of miles. But yes, full reviving the Escort. What do you make? Please comment down below, guys. What you make to this new Borum inspired Ford Escort here as well. This limited run Escort Mark 1 reborn car. I know that Eagle done it with the Speedster. They kind of done a Jaguar E-Type remake. Gave it like a newer engine, but like used an old body style. It's very similar to that, isn't it? In a way. Comment down below what you have to make of it. Now it's time for the British Touring Car Championship. I'm going to go to some motorsport news. Obviously, I discussed the F1 last week. Obviously, they had the gala the other night in, I think it was Rwanda. It was in Africa. Obviously, Formula One went to have their awards the other night. Max Verstappen picked up the championship trophy for Red Bull, and also as well, McLaren were there. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and Zach Brown and Andrea Stella all picking up the Constructors' Championship trophy as well. And also, a lot of questions raised at the moment on Sergio Perez's future. Red Bull are said to be lining up, I think, either Liam Lawson or Yuki Tsunoda to fill in that second seat at Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen. Pardon me. I mean, personally, Sergio Perez should go after a dismal season. He only scored 49 points in the 18 races, the last 18 races. Crazy to think that. Like, he's had such a torrid run in the second half of the season. Just gives you questions why Red Bull lost the Constructors this year. And McLaren ended up winning it in a final race as well. Anyway, British Touring Car news. Some news from the British Touring Car Championship. I want to talk to you about this very quickly. Lots of news from this. For example, there has been some big news coming back as well. Daryl De Leon will be joining WSR ahead of the British Touring Car Championship. West Surrey Racing have announced the young driver signing. 19-year-old, be the 18th championship time, or the 18th-time championship's youngest ever British BTCC driver since Tom Onslow Cole made his debut in 2007. The Anglo-Filipino racer will drive the 330 IM Sport that won the Drivers and Manufacturers titles this year. Just to confirm, that was obviously that was won, of course, by Jake Hill in that other run, obviously an MB Motorsport car, but also part of the WSR Academy there as well. So yeah, he won the Radical SR1 Cup. He also won the Radical Intercontinental Cup as well. Did Daryl De Leon? He did the overall British GT title in 2023. I mean, Daryl De Leon is a young driver. He's younger than me. Got lots of talent behind the wheel. Be a great addition to West Surrey Racing for 2024 or 2025. I think he's raced this season as well. I think he raced in one of the Cupra Leons. I think. But yeah, no, he's got lots of talent. Definitely can't wait to see him in a BMW 3 Series next year in the British Touring Car Championship. WSR certainly got a huge rostrum of drivers on their list to race alongside, of course, Colin Turkington. Speaking of driver changes, there is no, Adam Morgan has made a pretty huge switch. He is going to be joining Team Virtue. Yes, Team Virtue. This is the team formerly called Bristol Street Motors. It's the Accelerate Run team. Obviously, previously known as Bristol Street Motors. I've attended their a couple of their sort of meet and greets at Brands Hatch when I've last been there. For the British Touring Car. I'm aiming to go again, maybe twice next year, maybe in the April, maybe the Indy meeting and also the Grand Prix meeting as well. But Adam Morgan is going to be effectively racing at this team next season. I can't wait. Morgan has raced in so many teams. He used to race at Sicily Motorsport as well. I think he's very used to driving the BMWs. Sicily Motorsport also ran at that team, I think, as well. Also, at one point was part of WSR, but he moves to race the Hyundai i30M Fastback. So he will be officially joining that team. He'll partner Tom Chilton and Tom Ingram at the team. And I tell you what, that would be a great lineup, having Adam Morgan on board as a very experienced driver. He finished 7th in the standings before the hugely successful 7-year stint at the wheel of Mercedes A-Class, scored 8 of his 11 BTCC wins and 30 of his 42 podiums as well. So can't wait for Adam Morgan to race in that car. It'll be very interesting as well. And also, Chris Smiley will rejoin the championship as well. I thought I'd mention that as well. Chris Smiley is back in the championship. I think he took a sabbatical off like last year. He's going to be racing again at Restart Racing. They're going to be switching to Hyundai i30s. Chris Smiley is back in the championship. So yeah, very interesting. Now, I'm going to talk to you on the final bit of the show tonight about a very popular, it's something different. It's not a car. Okay, you might think this is a motoring podcast, but it's anything to do with wheels. I'm going to be talking about transportation tonight. I'm going to be talking about this. Behold, one of the most famous buses in London, the AC Routemaster. Yes, the Routemaster. I've been on one of these. Yes, the Routemaster was an iconic London transport bus, and for me has had a huge amount of changes over the years. Now, obviously, the original, the RM8 was the first production Routemaster at a bus rally in 1995. But in fact, production of this bus pretty much started after the Second World War. Between 1954 and 1968, the original Routemaster was out. And yes, the layout of the vehicle was conventional for the time, with a half cab, front mounted engine, open rear platform, although the coach version was fitted with near platform doors. It had forward entrance. Vehicles with platform doors were also seen as well. The first Routmasters were entered in London Transport in 1956 as well. So, do you know, there is actually a lot of history about these buses. You know, I think James May famously drove one on a Top Gear episode as well. They're just so iconic. Like, who doesn't love talking and learning about, about it? I know these things might sound very controversial, but trust me, Routmasters, they are historic, in a way. And to be honest with you, as James May put it, driving a bus is a lot more harder than you might think it is. So yes, I'm just going to quickly play this short video of James May testing a Routemaster on Top Gear. Have a listen to this.
Look at me. Look at my big steering wheel. Sorry. But how does it get on as a car? Well, if I'm honest, it is quite wide. And yeah, all right, very occasionally the height is an issue. Fucking Nora. But even though it's 35 feet long, it's not hard to drive at all. The steering is light and quite direct. It lacks the crispness that you find in, say, the Ferrari 458, but it's not bad. What's more, unlike most cars in a similar price bracket, it's extremely homegrown. It's not something that's just been badged up over here. It's all made in Britain. The chassis, the bodywork, the glass, it keeps British people employed. It promotes British skill. It advertises workmanship. This is a dead-end cock. How did I do? It didn't say dead end at the beginning of the road. This then would be a good place to test manoeuvrability. I can go right up to that because I'm right in front of the bus. This did attract a crowd, but if you try doing a three-point turn in a Lamborghini, you get a crowd as well. Fire system pressure, okay. Oh, God. Can you look at the back for me? Can you just check I don't knock a building over for me? It's like Victorian Britain. I've employed some children to do something useful. The only difference is that people do tend to mistake this for a bus. Mind the dog and get on it. Oi! Got a buffer. Get off, you pesky meddling kid. Off! Off! Off. Off. No mobile phones. No pressing the button. Off. 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 Stay off the bus. I've locked myself out of the bus. Having sorted out the problem with pliers, I immediately crashed into a Volkswagen Beetle. And then I nearly hit a bridge. 4.4 with 4.42. God, this is exhausting. But with the road ahead mercifully free of traffic, there was time to talk about some of the bus's high-tech features. It's a hybrid bus, this. It has a diesel engine and it has an electric motor. The electric motor always drives the wheels. The diesel engine generates electricity for the batteries. So it is actually like a Fisker Karma. The 0 to 60 time is not quoted, primarily because it won't do 60, but it will accelerate at 1 metre per second. And that's good, that means people standing up won't fall over.
Yes, James May there showing you how to drive an ASC Routemaster, the new Routemasters. I'll come on to them in a minute, because obviously the new Routemasters are slightly different to the original ones. But back onto this bus. So obviously, 1956 was when this bus came out, and it was a pioneering design. It outlasted several replacement types in London. It survived the privatisation of the tube. It was one of the most important. In 2006, it was voted one of the top 10 design icons. Included the Concorde, the Mini, the Supermarine Spitfire, the K2 telephone box. And in 2009, it was even selected by the Royal Mail for their British Design Classics commemorative postage stamp. And in 2012, obviously, we had the newer Routemasters. Now, the original Routemaster featured a 6-cylinder diesel engine. I think it was like a 9.8 litre engine as well. It also featured a step entrance, 4-speed automatic gearbox, and 115 brake horsepower. And it could seat up to 57 to 72 people as well. And obviously, they did feature different prototypes as well, including RMC, standard coach, and also rear door entrances as well. So there was different types of Routemasters and also different colours as well that used to run for like Golden Jubilee and stuff like that. However, though, then came the new Routemasters, because let's be honest with you, the Routemaster was a very popular bus back in the day. That classic style, that classic sort of double-decker style that we've seen. This is one of the most important buses at the time, when the Routemaster really changed the way buses made England. It certainly was a big shift, and I always remember the Routemaster as being a classic icon of Britain. What we see on our postage stamps, what we see if we're driving to buses. But Routemasters are always easy to spot with their high-flung design, their classic double-decker looks. It's got that iconic red colour. The new Routemaster, on the other hand, was released in 2011, and it ended production in 2017. 1,000 units were produced. It used a 4-cylinder, 185 brake horsepower engine. I believe also diesel as well. And I think it was actually a hybrid at one point. Now, it first entered service with Arriva on London Route 38 in 2012. It was also known as the Boris bus as well. Because actually, funnily enough, Boris Johnson actually brought these Routemaster buses into London when he was mayor. As well, after its half a century, it was withdrawn at end of 2005. It also operated 2 heritage routes as well. In terms of that as well, the new bus could seat 80 people with a wheelchair, 87 without a wheelchair. It featured 22 seats on the lower level, 1 wheelchair space, 18 standing, 25 standing without a wheelchair. The upper deck was 25 standing and 40 upstairs seating as well. So obviously, it had a hybrid diesel powertrain. And also as well, in 2020, they announced that the new Routemasters would be converted so passenger only enter by the first door, middle and rear doors becoming exit only. This was done to reduce fare evasion, which had been double that of previous Routemaster buses. So the new Routemasters obviously were going to be a lot more reliable. And to put it bluntly, they had a service. They were more modern. They had newer engines, newer technology as well. This is the one. Then we also have as well the Wright SRM as well, which is based on a Volvo design. And if I'm honest with you, you drive around London, you will see these iconic Routemaster buses. It's all about invoking the classic charm of a London bus. And the iconic colours there as well, red, silver as well. these colours. For me, the iconic red livery with the Union Jack on the top, for me, just signals the iconic nature of the Route Master. And of course, as well on a Route Master, you don't forget that little thing at the front, the Oyster card. In London, you have to use an Oyster card to travel on public transport. A lot of the time, Oyster cards actually give you a bus ticket. It's clearly clever, it reduces your bus fares. Oyster cards are essential. I remember before passing my driving test when I used to go up to my nan and granddad's because they live up in Romford. I used to get the Oyster bar. I used to get these Route Masters. I do remember them very well, and they're iconic buses now. The newer ones obviously are a lot more modern, newer inside, more comfortable seating. Obviously the old ones retained that sort of classic bench design, but they are iconic. They're double deckers. A lot of these buses now, and the double deckers for me are just an iconic British look. They remind you a lot of the days British transport really evolved. And I have to say, these newer Route Masters are a lot bigger. The fact that they can seat up to 80 people now as well. I think it was about 87 without a wheelchair and 80. Shows you that they're much bigger than I think the 72 and I think 34 of the original Route Masters. So definitely a huge increase. And these newer buses with the hybrid technology will also be more fuel efficient as well, better for the environment. So definitely the interesting history lesson of Route Masters certainly will take you back a long way. Now, if you want a video on the Route Master, please let me know. I could do a video on my YouTube on Motormania about it as well. That's all I'm going to say. There will be some videos dropping before Christmas as well, which I'm hoping to do at some point. But yes, that is it for the Motormania podcast tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'm your presenter, Charlie Tolhurst. This has been a great show live on YouTube tonight. Thanks so much for watching the podcast. Take care and have a great night. Goodbye.